Okay, good day. So in this video, we're explaining the extrude. Now, the extrude can be found when you're working in the edit mode. This is the extrude, and most of the time we use the extrude for either where we're working on the edges or face. Now, currently this guy is sealed up, as you can see. All the sides are sealed up. So the most interesting way to work with the extrude is with using this last one called faces, face selection mode. All right. So now the extrude basically is you adding, pulling out from the existing layer. Is like growing a new limb, or yeah, when you eat and your stomach suddenly comes out, or something is growing from the same source. So if when you plant a seed and the tree grows up and then branches appear, those branches, this extension of that branch is as though since it came out of the same trunk, it's like an extrusion from the same source. So the easiest, the most basic extrude is the first one I'll show you here. This one here is called the extrude region. So when you click on it, all you can do with this is just to pull it out or pull it in, pull it out or pull it in. So now this works only basically one directional. You can pull it out like that, you can pull it out like that. It works basically one directional like that. And also we can in any direction, by the way, you can pull it out from any direction, any direction. Yeah. So that's the basic one. But let's assume you selected this and selected this. Because more often than not, you might be selecting different sides and you want to extrude them at once. So if you pull the extrude, it will give you this weird feeling and you don't want that. So this is where the next one comes in, which is the extrude along normal. This one. When you click on that, you pull it out, you can see everyone is going in this direction that you expect them to go. I select this, I select this, I select this, and what else? What should I call it? Yeah, select this one. I better still let me pull this down and select this one. Now I selected all these sides. If I use the normal extrude, which is this first one, I'll have a problem because everything will give me this weird feeling. So I'll use the second one that I use, which is this one. So with this, if I click on the extrude, everybody goes in the direction that they are facing. That's why it's called normal. Extrude along normal. So I'll explain what the normal is in 3D. We call it normal. Normal. So for now, let's just run this. So I'll explain what that is in one of our classes. Okay. So that's the extrude. So I use basically those two. The first one, like normal extrude region, and the but I use this one the most. Extrude along normal. There's also another one called extrude along path. When we get to that part, I will explain to you. For now, this is the tool we use basically for anything you want. Extrude, the normal extrude, and then we have the, what's it called? The extrude along normal. Those two, I use them more often than not. So far they served me a lot. So far they served me a lot. All right. So the next one is extrude individual. Now this extrude individual is so interesting in such a way that let's assume I select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I click extrude individual, you can notice that it's extruding everybody in an individual fashion. So everybody is going on the normal ground. If I click on extrude along normal, this is what it gives me. Pretty neat, right? Beautiful in its own right. I click on this one, you only push it forward or whatever, which is forward or back, which is not what I want. If I use extrude along normal, it gives me this beautiful boxy feeling. Nice and very useful in its own right. But when I use extrude individual, it will extrude each and every of those faces that I selected in their own unique specific direction, which is nice. Which is nice, you can see. So we have the extrude region, we have the extrude along normal, and we have the extrude individual. Now these three are quite interesting and I use them while I'm working. At least I use them more than the other type of extrude. Alright, so let's proceed. Let's proceed. Alright. If you have any question on how to use the extrude, please let me know so that I can give my explanation on it. Alright. The next one is the inset. Okay. Yeah, the inset. Now the inset, this one. Now for the inset faces, now this, looking at this now, I selected the face. This is the inset face. It only affects faces, by the way. Yeah, before I even jump into that, let me quickly explain this. So let's assume I deleted something. Let me delete this face. I delete it with X and I press delete face. Now this is an open area. So, but I want to extrude it. So I can click on, instead of using the face, I can click on the edges, click on these three, and then yes, I will go to extrude and say any of the extrude and say extrude. Now extrude each and every one of those things beautifully. So you can extrude edges and you can extrude edges and you can extrude faces. You can also extrude vertices, but the use cases are different. So the most used is extrude faces and um, extrude edges. So when we get to the point where we can extrude vertices, I will show us that area. So let's move back to our uh, insert face. For the insert face, now looking at this, all this you're having, as you can see, all these faces, they are just one flat surface. One. I click on it one. So that the complete cycle of an edge will give you a face. So, but if peradventure I want to create a face inside a face, that's when the insert face comes in. I'll click on this, and with this I can just pull this back inside. So it gives me the freedom to create something in between, and with this I can go back to the extrude, for instance, and pull this down, putting it right. So the same thing, I can click on this. Let's as I want to give it a little gap, a little space inside. I'll click on insert. I'll give it a little inset, depending on how I want it. Let's say I want a lot. Alright, so I can pull this inward or outward, depending on what I want to do. Let's pull it outward. Okay. So you can see, and I have something nice. And on this face, I can click on this face now and insert it like so. And then pull it inside a bit. Alright. So that's that. So with this, you can create your creativity. The creation is limited to what you can picture. So this also, let's click on this. Let's insert it a little bit. Yep. And then we extrude it inward. Consider I've created an all-way. Pretty nice, yeah. Pretty nice. Yeah. So that's that. So we're having this. So all this can be used on anything you are creating, anything. If you can imagine it, if you can see it, or if you can even if it's from a what's the word, a reference, because in 3D it's advisable to use reference images. Yeah, I will explain how to use reference images in the next couple of videos so it can help you work on you better improve your workflow basically. Because as long as you can see it, you can create it. But sometimes we creative have an issue where we try to imagine what we are doing as we work. So imagination in itself is not bad, but when you have a foundational structure sketched out on paper or on a picture of something, while you are creating through the reference, you can imagine different directions to follow. All right, let's move to the next. The next one is now called the loop cut. The loop cut. Now, the loop cut basically is like you're adding new edges. All these edges, since they are called edges, by the way, let me go back to this. Please. All these are called edges. All these things, they are called edges. Now, if I want to add more edges to my creation, I want to now if I, for instance, if I apply subdivide to this thing now, subdivide the modifier, the wrench is the modifier. You notice that this one is giving me this curve, which I may not want this. Let's now assume that I want this area to be very sharp instead of becoming like this. That's when the modifier, the loop cut comes in. I click on it, then I move this. So this is the loop cut. It's giving me the freedom to create something that on a normal ground will be, yeah, it's reducing the strain of the smoothing. So you can see that. So if I remove the loop cuts, for instance, the loops, for instance, let me remove this modifier. Now this is how it looks like before I apply the modifier. Everything looks boxy. When I apply the subdivide modifier, everything is roundish and the likes. So if I want to maintain that boxy feel, I apply my loop cut, create new loops in areas necessary, create new loops in necessary areas, and reduce the strain on so many areas so that it maintains the curve and doesn't lose its shape. Doesn't lose its shape. Yeah. As long as the shape can be maintained, I believe we are fine. Yep. So that's where the loop cut comes in. Pretty nice by the way. Pretty nice. It maintains as much of the loop. So there are times there are places you need this. For instance, let's create something. Let's create a matchbox cube, a matchbox like a matches or something. So scale it down a little bit, scale it forward a bit, Control A to apply or transform or scale transform and move to the, yeah, so we can scale this up. So the first thing I need to do is I want to duplicate this. Shift D as usual, move it out, forward. Then for this, what I want to do is I need this to be the outer shell. So what I will do is I click on the face, this side and this side. So I delete it, and I then this becomes the outer shell of my matchbox. So I click on the four sides and then I extrude. Let's extrude normal. Let's extrude normal and pull it down inside. So to give it this beautiful solid feel. So and then okay, let me make it wider before I do that. So make it wider. Yes. So, so we have to select this and select something workable. Yeah, that's nice. So now we have the outer box. So you can pull this inside now. You can see that yeah, it fits in nicely, but it's too there's too much space, so we'll fix that later. So this other face, you click on this. First thing you want to click that internal structure. We use the first is the inset. We pull it inward a little, then we use the extrude. The first extrude and we pull it down. Yeah, and we are good to go. So with this we can click on it, press L, letter L on your keyboard, the key L on your keyboard, pull this where it should be, and then make adjustments where necessary. So currently, let's pull this up. The match box and the match plate, yes, in this instead. So this outer part is too big. So what we can do is click on it. Yeah, then we pull this area inside, inward. That's the word, inward. Select the necessary areas we need. And basically, select the necessary areas we need. This side and this side, and then we push it inward until you are okay with the gap there. And then we do the same for the upper part. Select this area and select this area and G Z. All right. So now we have our match box. Let's just pull this out a bit. So that we have something like this. Our match box, and then let's now start applying the loops where necessary. Now, looking at this now, if I add the modifier subdivide, it will give me this thing, weird thing, right? But this is not what I want. So same as the edit, I'll use the loop cuts. I'll create new loops and drag them to the areas necessary, something like this. Just something to hold the edge together. Something to hold the edge together. Something to hold the edge together. Nothing too fancy, just something to hold the edge piece together. So if what is the edge loop, quite functional in its own right. It keeps the edge of your model together and make it sharp. Instead of making it can make it lose the original form that you intend to give it from scratch. That's why you do that. So when I apply the subdivide, you see the difference now. You can see the difference. Alright, so some areas still need more edge loop. Yeah, I think this area needs one. Yes, so you can see. So with the edge placement, let's move closer to see more details. Yeah, yeah, we are good, we are good. Okay, the inner part, this inner part needs some things. Yeah. Alright, so let's move tab. So now we can increase the subdivide and smooth. So we are good with this. So let's now apply the match sticks. for now, we'll do a basic mask. It is just a cube, a cubic structure, quite thin. Yeah, depending on the size of the mask you're going for, then move it to the right location, rotate 40, 90 degrees. Yeah, if what I'm saying still looks like okay, a little bit more scaling, I believe we are good. Yeah, if what I'm saying still look unclear to us, please let me know so I can explain even more detail. All right, so let's move it to this right. So let me introduce you to another function of the modifier panel. Already modifier this range. So we've touched the bevel, we've touched the subdivide. The next one, you can touch the array, ARRAY, the array. What the array does is helps you add. So this is to it to your current. It's more like to help you duplicate automatically. So I don't want it to be on the x-axis, I want it to be more on the y-axis. So I'll set the x-axis to 0 and the y-axis should be at, let's say, yeah, a reasonable number. So that, yeah, reasonable number. Then I can click on this to duplicate more. Yeah, that's good. Control, shift, just grab and then move to place. Let's give it one or two more. That one is okay. So let's move it upwards. But before we move upwards, let's give it bevel. Bevel. Let's move the bevel upwards. So in your process of using your modifier, everything works by appearance. So when Blender is working on your modifier, it looks at the first one, then looks at the second one, then looks at the third one. So if you want Blender to, whatever we want Blender to see first must be the one at the top. Whatever you want it to see next will be the one after. So your arrangement on your panel, sorry, on this area, so the modifiers area will go a long way on how Blender interprets its function. Okay, so let's give it, let's see, that's okay, it's not so visible. So let's use another array again. Array, you can use more than one array, by the way, more than one modifier name. So we have array 001, which is that two different arrays. So I increase the number of bits, you notice that it's moving downward, and this is not what I want, so I want to move upward. So I'll use a negative number instead, like -1. So the -1 will give me what I want, but this is too much, so let me reduce it by 1. But is it much? No, not too much. Let's give it this up, and let's move it to the side in a weird way also. If it's too much, yeah, so we are good. So we have this matchbox and this. So, and all we used was the extrude, we use the inset, we use the edge loop, and then we use the bevel. Let's touch the bevel. So finally the bevel, let's see. Okay, yeah, so for the bevel, similar to the rest, let's name it a new cube. Similar to the rest, the bevel is quite interesting in that with the bevel, yeah, with the bevel, something really neat happens. Tab edit mode. With the bevel, you can, the bevel basically affects edges. all these edges. That was the bevel effect. So to apply more curve and the likes to it, you use the bevel. Alright, so let's click on this area and then use the bevel. When I click on the bevel, you can see that it gives me this feeling, and then you might be mindful of this area, so you can increase it and decrease it, and it gives you a nice curve in its own right. So as we move along in the class, the beauty of using all these basic functional tools will begin to reveal itself as we go. So that's that about the inset, the bevel, the extrude, and the loop cut. And as we move on, we'll explain further in depth on how to use them. Thank you for being around. All right.